Mark McKinney. Why did I get into comedy? Well, thanks for asking. I got into comedy because of old Uncle Mike. Now, when I was growing up, not a lot of the adults had a lot of use for Uncle Mike. He was a bit of a drifter, a bit of a loser. Never really had a job. But to me, Uncle Mike was a good friend, a good listener, and a great laugher. You know, each day after school, I'd run by Uncle Mike's place, and he'd give me these cookies soaked in beer, and hell, even if I didn't like the taste by the fifth or sixth one, I didn't care. And I'd tell Uncle Mike some schoolyard joke I'd heard that day, and as he listened, his eyes would open wide, and he'd sort of half cover his mouth as if to say, "Wait a second, that's too outrageous to say what you're saying there." And then he'd start to laugh. And he was the best laughter. First, he'd shake and he'd twitch, and then pretty soon Uncle Mike, he'd be laughing so hard he couldn't breathe, and the eyes would roll over in the back of his head, and he'd tumble out of his chair and start thrashing around on the floor, ripping his clothes off and saying, "Oh, stop, please, stop!" And then his body would give off the smell of fresh baked bread, which I loved. So I'd tell him another joke. And he'd start laughing even harder, and he'd get up and he'd run towards the living room wall and punch his head through it and start farting blue flames out the back of his pants. Uncle Mike, I got into comedy because of him. For the sense of power.